France, UK, and Canada finally did something. Yeah, I've heard that rumor. Might just be a rumor, though. The fact that Trump is very publicly pulling away from Israel and more towards the Gulf states, I guess, is giving other Western European countries a little bit more gusto with expressing their disapproval of the ongoing genocide. I don't really know if they've done anything. It's just like a condemnation, right? Joint statement, yeah. Lamau, so Trump is actually better on Israel? Well, whether or not that's going to lead to anything good, like in a consequential sense, is yet to be seen. What is definitely true is that Trump cares less about Israel than Biden and basically anything else. Or anyone else. They have done stuff. Yeah, I saw the free trade agreement suspension, but isn't the condition for lifting the suspension only to let aid in? Who gives a and the genocide? Like it's like okay, we're not gonna trade with you until you let a few more like bags of rice in to the people that you're bombing, you know? Like they've set the bar so low. It's not real leverage. But didn't Trump recently say he's still considering taking over Gaza? I think that when Trump has said that he wants to take over Gaza and build like a beautiful resort, I'm not gonna lie, I think he meant it. Like, he's an idiot, but I think he meant that. He wants to be seen as the guy who solved the conflict. He goes in with American support, and he fixes all the bad, and all the Hamas gets arrested, and the beautiful beachfront property becomes like a resort strip, and there will be golden statues of him, and he makes a lot of money from it, and everyone loves him. That's what's happening in the, like, crayon-drawn cartoon reality playing in his head, you know? You know Nico Robin? How she thinks? It's all up here. I mean, the problem, like, ultimately, of course, is that this isn't a solvable conflict without directly confronting Israel. Netanyahu wants to prolong the war to stay in power, and other people in the war cabinet of Israel want the complete extermination of the Palestinians. I'm sure that Netanyahu does as well, but that's kind of a side thing to power for him. So I think, the issue really is that Trump is probably upset that he's not being given the opportunity to do his big, fun, fix everything solution. Like, he's this whole time in Biden's presidency, Trump was saying, if I was in charge, I would fix it. If I was in charge, I would fix it. I think Trump believed that was true. And then Trump becomes president and he tries to go and fix Ukraine and Russia. And it turns out, oh, Putin actually doesn't want to end the war. And Trump gets really mad about it and crashes out over it. And then he goes over to Israel and Palestine. And he's like, well, I'm going to go fix this. And then it turns out, no, you actually can't, not without directly confronting Israel. So he leaves that situation alone and he goes over to the Gulf states. And the Gulf states are like, holy shit, this guy can actually be bought. Like, he can be swayed. So they give him a jet, or, you know, he asks for a jet, whatever. It doesn't matter. He's comedically corrupt. But the point is that he's just not as committed to Israel as, you know, previous leaders. UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy speaking on Israel in the House of Commons today.
I'm announcing that we have suspended negotiations with this Israeli government on a new free trade agreement. We will be reviewing cooperation with them under the 2030 bilateral roadmap.
Why is he like this with Israel but isn't with Ukraine? I think he kind of is. I think he's just really stupid and susceptible. For a little while, Trump was repeating unironic, like, straight-faced Kremlin propaganda, right? Like, he was literally saying Zelensky was a dictator and so on. But now he's stopped doing it. He just doesn't do that anymore. For a while, he was acting like Russia wanted to end the war. Now he doesn't do that anymore. He tried to talk with Russia. Nothing got solved. And then the minerals deal with Ukraine was signed. It genuinely seems like he thought it would just be easy to fix. It wasn't. Remember in his first term when he said no one ever thought healthcare could be this complicated? When he was challenged on why he didn't have any plan for replacing the Affordable Care Act, which he wanted to repeal. That's his entire ethos. He's literally just stupid.
The Netanyahu's government's actions have made this necessary, Madam Deputy Speaker. Today, my honourable friend, the Minister for the Middle East, is summoning the Israeli ambassador to the Foreign Office to convey this message.
David Lammy.
Isn't formal surrender by Palestine the only viable option? There is no surrender. There's no surrender from Palestine. It's just bombing civilians. There's no surrender from Palestine. There's not even like a meaningful government apparatus. Israel just wants to exterminate all of them. Any language of sort of like surrender Hamas will be immediately ignored anyway, just like Israel has ignored every single ceasefire. Like, it's not a real war.
Well, with permission, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'll make a statement on Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories. This weekend, the Israeli Defense Force started a new extensive ground operation throughout Gaza, Operation Gideon's Chariot. 5 Israeli divisions are now operating there. Prime Minister Netanyahu says that they're going to take...
I just Googled IDF casualties in Gaza this year, and the most recent article from the Times of Israel was, of course, friendly fire. At this point, I wonder if it's more than 50% of their casualties in the Strip that are friendly fire, given how stupid and trigger-happy these dipshit genociders are. Sergeant Yosef Yehuda Shirak, killed in fighting, i.e. by friendly fire. On the same day, another 91 civilians were killed in Israeli strikes. Fantastic.
Control of the Strip, letting only minimal amounts of food reach Gazans. Madam Deputy Speaker, I quote Mr. Netanyahu. He says, just enough to prevent hunger. Fewer than 10 trucks entered Gaza yesterday. The UN and the World Health Organization have issued stark warnings of the threat of starvation hanging over hundreds of thousands of civilians. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is abominable. Civilians in Gaza facing starvation, homelessness, trauma, desperate for this war to end, now confront renewed bombardment, new displacement, and new suffering. And the remaining hostages, kept apart from their loved ones by Hamas for almost 600 days, are now at heightened risk from the war around them. Madam Deputy Speaker, 2 months ago, the ceasefire collapsed. Since then, the humanitarian catastrophe has rapidly intensified. For 11 weeks, Israeli forces have blockaded Gaza, leaving the World Food Programme without any.
Yeah, whatever. We've known about this for literal years now. UK joined France's initiative for recognition of the Palestinian state. A little late, don't we think? Yeah, I guess it really is just Trump being less concerned with Israel, and that's all it takes. Really does make you reflect on how willfully complicit Biden had to be. Like, Biden could have at any point in time signaled to Israel that this was unacceptable, and the rest of the world would have followed. And it's entirely because of America's allegiances that Western Europe has held the positions that it has, that they've been arresting protesters and deporting people, and he chose not to. Netanyahu vows to take control of Gaza as UK, France, and Canada threaten action against Israel. Yeah. It's like the 57th time he's done this. Do you not think that even if Biden had gone against them, he wouldn't have just been Mossaded? The Mossad isn't magical. They're just a foreign intelligence agency. What do you think? Do you think that foreign intelligence agencies have the ability to assassinate the president of the United States of America? Absolutely not. It's just Israel. They're just like a satellite military base. They're like a puppet to our corporate interests. He could easily just get lame ducked by AIPAC. How much money do you think AIPAC is? The president? Stop pretending the Jews control the country. He's the president of the United States of America. He can do anything he wants. Like, don't make excuses for his weakness. If you think Mossad or AIPAC are so committed that they would be willing to assassinate a U.S. president or make him a lame duck, why the f have they done anything about Trump? Oh, they can't? It turns out that they're just a pithy foreign intel agency and a block of a few hundred million capable of swaying elections, but ultimately incapable of doing anything about presidential power? Remember that Biden literally suppressed an internal review that demonstrated Israel violated the U.S. conditions on multiple occasions? Yep. Set red lines and then walked them back. If memory serves, Israel had direct backdoor access to Macron's personal smartphone. Okay. Intel agencies do intel agency shit. We spy on our allies all the time. Don't pretend Mossad is like that spooky. They're just not. We're America. We have the CIA. Just keep that in mind, okay? The abstemiousness on our part is a consequence of weakness, not inability. Mossad has been so mythologized online. Yeah, because of anti-Semitism. Like that's the reason why every country has intelligence agencies. Every country's intelligence agencies spy on their allies. The fact that Mossad gets this super, ultra, super duper spooky reputation is purely like JQ shit. That's it. That's the only reason why. They're not the only prolific intelligence agency. Not even close. Isn't Mossad way less competent than most intel agencies too? No, they're decently competent, but like, they're no CIA, they're no NSA. It's not just JQ shit. Israel literally pays for this type of propaganda in US procedural shows like NCIS. Oh, heaven forbid that Israel use media for propagandizing. Do you have any idea what US aid has been used for? Like, this is what I mean. You act like it's exceptional. Like, did you know Israel pays for propaganda to be put in American television? Have you looked at the American intelligence agency? Or our police agencies or our military? Yeah, it's all bad and worth mentioning. No, sure, it's worth mentioning. I hate the impulse people have to pretend that Mossad is like especially super secret and dangerous, because that does come from JQ shit. People love to pretend that Israel has any control over the United States. They don't. AIPAC is a block of ostensibly pro-Israeli American relations interests, but in reality, it's largely just American conservatives and MIC patrons. You know, they're not, it's not foreign influence, not meaningfully. The head of Mossad literally called up the head of the ICJ during the trial of Israel recently on his personal cell. Okay. What do you, like, you're trying to paint like a spooky picture. Are you implying that the CIA doesn't have the cell phone number of public officials from the ICJ? You could probably Google that shit. They want to pretend that because it absolves Americans of guilt for not being able to stop U.S. support. Yeah, at the end of the day, like, America's support for Israel is just because our leaders are evil and lazy. That's it. If Biden was less evil or less lazy, he could have stopped it. He could have easily stopped it. It would have been trivial. Was the president of the United States. Anyone who suggests otherwise, the idea that the hands of the president are bound and he can't do anything, it's complete bullshit. And Trump is literally proving that right now, because by being stupid and indifferent, he's upending all of these relationships that have trillions tied to them. Our relationship with China, Canada, Mexico, you think there aren't heavy corporate contracts associated with those? You think the business class isn't shaking in their boots over it? He can just do it. He can do whatever he wants because he just doesn't care. The president can do what they want. Biden didn't because he didn't want to. Even W was able to force Israel to end illegal settlements during his presidency. That's why W is popular in the West Bank. Basically, every president before Biden was harder on Israel than Biden. Do you think the cancer in his ass was speaking to him? Must have been. The only explanation we got. Biden's been the most pro-Israel U.S. president ever, and that probably won't change. Yeah, the support for Israel is probably on the downhill slope from here. Now that Trump has made it more publicly acceptable to be anti-Israel. Not anti-Israel, I guess, but like not slavishly loyal to Israel. Also, modern Republican fascism is giving them, and also the state at large, the ability to direct military spending, sort of manufacture consent without needing that kind of like Middle Eastern foreign conflict, Islamic terror narrative to justify it, you know? Bet you the trend ongoing is going to be border defense. It's going to be like, where are the big juicy MIC contracts? It's going to be patrolling the border. Look at the Trump budget. Ungodly amount of money being sent to the Pentagon and towards Department of Homeland Security. And I bet you a lot of that Pentagon money is going to be spent rolling, Abrams tanks, east and west across the border, up and down the wall. Got to spend the money on something.